Hi guys! Today we're heading over to my friend Jake's house to see his bees and have a closer look at some of the stuff we've been learning about over the last few weeks. Jake has real honeybees and he's going to give us an up-close look inside their hive. I'm going to go get suited up in my protective bee gear. I'll see you guys there.
Hi, my name is Jake. Welcome to my apiary. I'm Bennett. Let's learn about bees. Come on in.
Chip Armstrong from the Tidewater Beekeepers Association is here with us today to help explain what exactly goes on inside the hive while the bees are hard at work. Let's first look at some of the tools a beekeeper needs to safely interact.
So some of the tools we have are in this box here. This is what I take to the field with me. I try to put everything I think I might need in here in order to manage bees, work bees, and do the job I need to. First thing we got, guys, is what? Gloves. We need gloves. Some people work without gloves. Some of the people that are brave without gloves, but I'm a dentist and I can't have swollen fingers when I'm working on patients. So I usually wear gloves for protection. And you guys have gloves too. Show me your gloves. Everybody's got gloves on. Very good. Because bees glue their stuff together, we have tools in order to break into it and to work the beehives. What are these guys?
Jake, what are those?
Hive tools, right? And we have different kinds. We got red ones and blue ones. And blue is somebody's favorite color because they got blue right there. Yep, blue. And what do we have here? A bee brush. What do we do with the bee brush?
Brush yourself gently after you're done brushing off.
Yes, brush each other off.
Brush your hair.
Brush your teeth with it, yes. Get the pollen off your teeth? No, okay. But when we harvest some honey frames here in a few minutes, we're going to gently brush the bees off so we don't take the bees into the house. So that's one of the things. And what is this?
Jake, what's that?
Magnifying glass. Why?
Don't put that in.
Don't put that, yeah. But sometimes we have to look for eggs deep down in the combs, and if you don't have good eyesight, this helps out a little bit. And what was this? Do you remember we talked about this? It's a marking pin. It's a marking pin for queens. Yeah, if we find the queen and we want to put a dot on her back so that when next time we go in the hive, we can see that queen faster and you don't have to go looking around quite so much. She'll stand out pretty good. And that's what we have in our bee box right there that we work with. So whose hive should we go in first?
Mine.
And where is yours?
Right here.
Is it a busy hive?
Oh, yeah, mine is, if you go in Bennett's, both of ours are the biggest hives. They were like hives.
You have honey in your hives?
155,
Yes, okay. Just like you live in a two-story house, some people live in a one-story house. So we have a one-story house here where the bees live. This is their living room. And up here is their pantry where they store honey. Bees have it's designed in them to store their honey above them. So like in a tree, their honey is going to be up above them. So as they work their way up into their honey during the winter time, they have plenty of resources to survive the winter. You have to be able to inspect your bees because there's a lot of diseases bees can contract. We have varroa mites, which is the bane of our existence, and we have small hive beetles. Varroa mites are like ticks on bees, and so we have to inspect our bees every time we go in there. Varroa mites bring viruses to bees and cause them to die off early. All right, is that your job right there? Okay, so let's pop some right up underneath the lid. Yeah, and we just wait a few minutes. We're just like ringing their doorbell to tell them we're there, okay?
That's impossible. They don't even have a doorbell.
Oh, yes, they do. They have a biologic doorbell. And this is what they look like on the underside. This is propolis. It's a little gummy resin right here. You can chew on it all day long. Some people grind it up and make tea out of it. They see that there's some kind of antimicrobial features or benefits from that. This is what we use our small hive tool for. We can take it and break the little propolis barriers in between here so we can get at these frames a little bit better. And like I said, frames are in here so that we can inspect it. When you see a bee going into a hive with pollen on there, it tells you there's some pretty good things going on with a hive. Pollen is the proteins, nectar is the carbohydrates, and usually you'll see protein coming in when they're rearing brood, when they're making babies, and that's a positive thing. That means we have a queen in here more than likely, or about to receive a queen. You may see a bee go in every now and then has yellow on its flanks, and that's the pollen, like that one that just went in. That was some white pollen. Bees are not monocultural, which means they will go to different flowers, but one bee will go to the same flower until he's depleted that particular piece of pollen gathering, another bee will have another one. So you'll see green, you'll see white pollen, you'll see yellow, burnt orange, some of the most beautiful pollen you've ever seen. And you have guard bees here. These are guard bees right here to keep other bees out of there. Other bees can kind of get past them if they bring them an offering of either nectar or pollen to get in. There's one with pollen just went in. That's liquid gold right there. These are all nurse bees and they're all taking care of putting nectar in here. They'll go down in the hive and get it from a bee that brings it from the field, bring it up here and put it in here. They'll regurgitate it. This is a drone, a boy bee. And the only thing he's doing is looking for a free meal. Once they mate, they die. And a queen will mate with up to 13 to 15 drones. And if she does that, she is fully mated and she can go for several years. So see how we just drop them in there so gently, like if they were sound asleep, we wouldn't know. And that may be the best one you got right there. And nectar comes from flowers. You can also force feed them sugar water and they'll also put that in there, but that's not nectar. Nectar has proteins, enzymes, and things that are in the flowers out and about. Take them out real quickly, easily, so you won't roll them. The queen has gotten up in here in her honey super and laid eggs. And now this is what we call capped brood here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's some like glistening little white guys right in this area here. Those are larvae. And then they get to a certain size, they cap them, then they become pupa. And just like a butterfly, after a few days, they emerge as bees. And so these are mostly nurse bees up here taking care of it. Here's the honey in the corner here. These are like, that's the 7-Eleven. They go there and get the food and feed it to the babies. Once they cap it up though, they're just over there monitoring them. And that's a beekeeper's dream. We love to see that. So these are frames. There's 10 frames in this particular super. Now this one, oh Janet, you got a lot of bees coming your way. These will hatch out, or excuse me, emerge in the next 14 days and there'll be thousands and thousands more bees.
Oh, wow.
Yep, honey. And look at the difference in this. See the thickness of that right there? That's just honey. Those are wax cells that are full of honey and they're starting to cap them off right in the center, but this thing has some weight to it. Put that down and hold this for a second. Grab it by the ears right here. Got it? Feel the weight of that? Now, if you had 10 of those across there, that's at least 40 pounds of honey in this one particular guy right here. So these bees that you see here, they live only 4 to 6 weeks in the summertime. As you get closer to fall, they change their feeding habits and they get a little bit of fat bodies on them, and then they can last anywhere from 4 to 6 months during the winter. So these girls right here are going to work themselves to death, and they'll die out there in the grass somewhere. They will not die in the hive. And it's back and forth until one day their wings are just tattered and they just fall. And it keeps the bees from having to clean the hive all the time. There's a small hive beetle. Look at that. What do we do with them? We crush them, right? Small hive beetles are dung beetles. They come out of chicken barns and turkey barns and things like that. And they just like the smell of a hive. The smell of a hive kind of smells like bananas, and that's just what they go for. Now that's all glistening. You can see all the honey in there glistening there. And here, feel that compared to that last one. And that's only halfway full. If you flip it around very gently, you'll see that it's only half full. But I'm not sure if you can see deep down in there. We always try to get the sun at our back so we can look in there and see all the little maggots or the little larvae. And if you can look down there, you see the white creamy stuff in the middle.
Uh-huh.
And if you look way over here on the right side in that open spot, you can see like little tiny milkiness way down in the cell. So this is a drone. Let's see, is that a varroa mite? Yep, that looks like a little varroa mite right there. And a varroa mite is a female, and she'll lay 3 or 4 eggs in there, which may be her own daughters and probably a male varroa mite. And then they will mate underneath the cap there and make more. So when this guy emerges, then all these mites start running around jumping on bees or just get into the next cell. And these will devastate a hive. And one of the ways we do is called drone trapping. We just let these drones go ahead and do this, and we can take a whole bunch of drone eggs and just throw them in the freezer and kill them. Because we know the varroa mites like to go for this, so this is like varroa mite bait here. They keep several queen cups on the frames in case they need them. If the queen gets injured and it's no longer efficient, they'll put an egg in there or have her put an egg in there, and they'll grow out to what we call a queen cell, and that will supersede her. So she's always planning for her eventual demise. Looks like a little peanut there. And that tells the hive, or it tells us that the hive is kind of crowded. She has no more places to lay eggs, so she says, okay girls, we gotta go. So she'll take half of her hive here and go swarm into a tree until they find some place. Once again, this is capped brood, all the yellow there. Underneath there are babies. From egg to emergence is 21 days for them. They cap at 9 days, so they got 2 weeks under the cap there where they're becoming adult bees, and then they'll break their way out of there. Pretty much like a butterfly does. When bees pack pollen away, they pick up pollen out in the grass, on the flowers, and they regurgitate a little nectar out of their honey gut, and they mix it with that pollen, which makes it sticky, and then they pack it on their back legs and come flying back. And then when they come to the hive, they go right to the cell they're supposed to, because you can see some pollen is orange, some of it's yellow, and they deposit it in and they push it in with their heads. So, how much honey can one bee make in its lifetime? 155 what?
A tablespoon.
A twelfth of a teaspoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
And she'll have, I don't know, maybe 336,000 flights or visit that many flowers or whatever.
My bee just landed on me.
Yeah, so when we see a little drop of honey here, that represents a lot of work from bees. So we're real careful about the honey that they make, and we don't waste any of it.
That's such a tiny amount.
It is. And that just tells you how many bees and how hard they've been working.
Thank you for coming. I hope you learned a lot about bees for today. Thank you.